You are?
Okay.
Buzzer. Yes.
This is not on the agenda, Carrie, so
Okay,
once you do a roll call, we can.
okay, sounds good. We'll go ahead and call to order. My watch says 3:20, 3:30, perfect. So we'll get started with roll call. So we've got Mark Cowan.
Here.
John Coke.
Yep.
Caroline Wilson, that's me. Eric is absent. Kevin is absent. Bill Boyer,
Here.
welcome to the big show. All right, and Retha here. All right. That looks like we have our confirmation of quorum. So it's a busy afternoon, so we're going to go ahead and just stick to the agenda here. Has everyone had a chance to look over the minutes?
And they were on that OneDrive. Was everybody able to open that link? Okay, all right. I just want to make sure. I'm going to try to do that every time. And as things come in, I'll just keep uploading new documents to it. So.
I'd make a motion to approve the minutes if nobody has any questions. Second.
Second? Okay. Motion passed. Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Everyone will have to bear with me. This is my first time leading a meeting, so if I forget a step, just let me know. All right. So starting with our old business, or do we want to start with this, Retha?
If you don't mind, let's start with that because we do need to vote on that. So this is just, I mentioned earlier, the document that typically our clerk treasurer presents to us, it just says we have no excess assessed value. He files it then with the DLGF every year. You guys have to look at that and approve that. Baker Tilly sent it this time. But anyway, same exact wording, same document. It looks a little bit different. We just have to take a vote to say, yes, we agree that there is no excess assessed value. And then he will upload that.
I move to approve.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
All right. So moving on to old business, so the TIF extension and the economic development area plan. Retha, you had mentioned that there were some updates that we were hoping to.
Yeah, and I'll stand up here so I can kind of talk about them really quick. So after the last meeting or during the last meeting, we had talked about, as part of this economic development plan, we had to do a dollar amount, which I think, Crystal, this is on, if you have the economic development plan in front of you, it is page 3. And Crystal, that is, the dollar amount is stating that even though we're keeping our TIF plan very broad, like even though we are saying, hey, it's just public improvements, blah, blah, blah. Explain to me again why there has to be an actual dollar amount in there.
So the dollar amount does a few things. So first of all, the dollar amount came from Retha having conversations with some of the staff members about projects that were needed, things that they thought would help spur economic development throughout the community. And so that's where that list. And so it says utility, technology, infrastructure, and right-of-way improvements, including but not limited to. But for this exercise, this plan, these were the ones that were specifically identified. Unlike your other plan that just listed those and didn't give anything else, that's why you were stuck with that very small list of projects you could do. But at this point in time, they have identified about $35 million worth of projects, which is a substantial amount based on the TIF. And so what this does is, I think, it's just a statutory requirement. You got to put it in there. What I think the purpose of it is, though, is to get everybody an idea of a little bit of a reality check. You can't pay for projects with TIF money if you don't generate TIF money, right? So this is just giving everybody a little bit of a like, okay, this is what we're meaning. We're not talking about $100 here. We're not going through this whole big process and extending the tip and doing all of this and this process for $100. We're doing it for a substantial investment, we're hoping, in the community. Now, on the flip side of that is that then that also kind of helps, I think, which is why I thought it was good to bring it back to you at this phase. It also gives you an idea of what does that mean to generate $35 million over the next 20 years?
So with that, a couple conversations that I had. So with the department heads, they identified some of these projects that they are hoping to do. One of them is, if you guys remember, and we might can zoom in that map, we went down Gale Street and kind of came up to the mound and then circled. Eric wanted to do maybe like the Moose or something like that. So in talking to department heads, something that made total sense to me, and I just did not process it beforehand, was currently right now we have talked multiple times that West Maumee has limited water capacity. It's just not great. If we're going to spur development, restaurants or other things in that West Maumee area, we need good utilities. Right now, if most of those businesses wanted to upgrade, they would have to pay thousands upon thousands of dollars, or if somebody bought a building, to go under our pavers, our brick pavers, tear those up and then go under the state road. So they would have to pay right up front $4,000 bond for state road, plus the cost or under a state road, possibly closing the lane, all kinds of things that have to happen. What our department heads asked for is, they said that there is some old clay tiles, just some things that they could update that they want to do around the backside, which then would also allow those building owners and business owners to go out the back to do some water infrastructure upgrades versus going in the state road. I never thought about it, but it made total sense. So last month, if you remember, we did vote to approve that TIF. What I'm asking for tonight, go ahead.
So by backside, you mean up to Gilmore and down to Gale?
Yeah, so
You'd be able to come in either here
Gilmore,
here.
yeah.
Instead of having to pull the utilities through the state road, they can come in off these back roads and make their connections, which eliminates all the extra work that you have to do just by being in a state highway right of way.
So that made total sense to me. So I'm asking on that amendment. Another conversation I had was with Jason Semler. Well, I had a couple. I had one with Okra, our Okra representative, which is Office of Community and Rural Affairs out of the state. And Jason Semler, which is Baker Tilly, our financial consultant for the city. Are they financial consultants, Kim? Okay. So with all of the changes in the new, like SB1 that has passed, new property tax laws, things like that, new funding that has been cut, or just existing funding that has been cut by our current administration, so many things have changed, even just in the time that we started this process to now. So Okra is a facilitator of a lot of grants that come through the state. And there are certain things like beautification, sidewalks, trails, things like that, that we get grants, subsidize our projects through those grants. Most of that funding has been cut. As well as with the property tax, with SB1 passing, some of what's going to happen is, quite honestly, some of those projects, not just infrastructure, but some of those beautification projects that I just talked about, our TIF funds are probably going to be the only thing that we have to subsidize those projects, which all of those projects spur development. When you're doing the trails or the sidewalks, some of that, it just all spurs development. So with that in mind, Jason Semler said a couple things. He said, you guys really need to right now focus on vacant lots. Any vacant lot that you can get, you need to focus on that. He said, take out any of the 1% and 2%ers so like single family residential and apartment buildings. He said that's actually going to have a negative impact on your increment. So I looked today and I was talking to Crystal and I thought, we don't really have any that I could think of. But in talking to Bill, I think we were talking, actually, Eric came in earlier so I could tell him what we were doing. Buck Lake Terrace has single family units in that little half like cul-de-sac thing there. That's all single family. And then there's 2 apartment complexes there. I don't know what that looks like because we just one of them was built recently this last year. So I don't know what happens if we remove that now. I don't have a good answer for that, but Jason just said on the phone, he said, you are going to see some negative impact, negative increment happening with those residential. So he said, if you have any, you just want to get them removed. So I think we probably should remove at least definitely that single family subdivision back there and maybe Terrace Ridge apartments as well. And I'm going to verify that, but he said apartments.
And it's all kind of new right now because they just passed it. And looking on some helpful website kind of information, it says, so residential is the key. So even though apartments are actually classified in your tax code as commercial, if they're over 3 units, that's the way the law is written is they are still considered a residential use. And so they are going to receive up to a 30% tax cut over the next 10 years. That's what they're saying. So who knows? I mean, they haven't even run the numbers at the state level past 3 years. So nobody really knows what's going on. But that said, I thought, we might have, a little bit of a loophole because if they had written the law to say residential properties, that doesn't include all those apartment buildings, which are actually taxed as commercial properties. But that doesn't seem to be the case. And there was a clarifier, I think, in that information we were looking at today on the website that it's any residential use as opposed to a residential tax classification. And that's where Jason was coming back and saying, hey, we thought we were going to be good with these multifamily because they're taxed as commercial properties. But because of this new law change, that really kind of puts that whole thought process on its end.
And we're talking about the apartments out here, right? 69 and 20 Terrace Ridge. One set of them are regular apartments. Isn't the other set of those?
Subsidized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those out there. Yeah.
And I don't know, I wasn't on the phone with Jason long enough. He was in traffic. And so I didn't get to ask him about that, but you're absolutely right. And then I kind of wondered too, like clearly that assessed value has gone up because those properties were or the second phase of the apartments were just built. According to Jason, we could see some immediate negative impact. I thought, in a couple years, like this could come back. What he also said is that what changes this, and again, the laws change every couple years and I get that, but what he said is that it used to be you could set your TIF and it's just, you don't even look at it for 7 years, I don't know. But he's like, now every couple years, you're going to want to review where your TIF is because of some of these changes in the laws. So I don't know about the subsidized. That's a good.
Does it matter if it's zoned commercial? Because I think all that out there is zoned commercial, I think.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter how it's zoned. It only matters how it's used or how they classify it for taxes.
Yeah. So if it's got a residential use, they're assuming that the big tax cut is associated with residential properties. So they've lumped those large apartment complexes, which, I mean, I guess if the whole point is to make housing more affordable, that includes all those housing units.
Yeah. So I think that we probably need to.
I've got one more that I wanted to mention too before, but go ahead.
Remind me, is the trailer park out there?
I know
Not
that's the
where
other
is it
one
in there. 'Cause
it's in there.
Because that's,
We had debated whether to keep it or not.
right, but if that's residential. too.
It's residential, we need to get rid of that too. You're absolutely right. Yes, thank you, yeah.
Yeah, what about this one? Is that mixed use or not?
What is it, John?
So the big blue square here. That's the new development going in?
Oh, the Serenova, so
Yeah.
that portion of it is all commercial.
Okay,
There will be a portion, you're right, behind it that will be residential, but
200 though, isn't it? Most of that?
yeah, it will be off of that, but it'll be annexed in, but yeah, you're right, that portion will be residential, so we wouldn't want to include that.
Unless they do a residential TIF. And then at that point, to get some assistance for the infrastructure they would need to build the housing development. But by that time, Jason will be able to help you size a bond for that. Because it'll be
If we had
based
an
on
area.
that new, because you have to annex it first. And so by that time, and again, that individual benefit for a residential TIF to help with infrastructure for new residential development. I mean, they're gonna know what that is because by that time, things will kind of settle down and people will understand it. So
Yeah,
that's a little bit away, so that'll give you some time to get through that.
so the trailer park, did you have another one?
I just had a specific question about the wastewater treatment plant,
Okay,
because I don't think it's in the TIF, but it's listed as a potential project, which puts us in two options. One, include it in the TIF or take it out of the projects.
well, I thought that if it's anything that's going to benefit inside the TIF district,
I think this, maybe I'm being more conservative than you would want to be, but my recommendation is, so the wastewater treatment plant upgrade is $15 million. So that is about half of your budget. And you're gonna spend half of your total budget on a project outside of the TIF.
that's what I was gonna ask you.
But I mean, yes, maybe you have a good attorney and they can make that long, kind of convoluted, like, yes, this wastewater treatment plant upgrades are serving the TIF, but not the rest of the
I guess it
city.
depends on the kind of upgrade, right?
Yeah, and
It's an increase in capacity because we are operating at capacity. You can make it.
if
That's what I would think
the
too.
capacity improvements are related to the TIF. So if you're increasing your capacity to serve the remainder of the city, not specifically, like, again,
Well,
not an attorney, but I think you'd have to make a pretty strong argument that the TIF is getting a substantial benefit of that $15 million. Now, that doesn't mean that you couldn't cost share and say, hey, we think half of the TIF is gonna get a substantial benefit and the rest of the city is gonna get half. So TIF can contribute a portion of that. That's a much easier argument, I think, for somebody to make. But I didn't know how far the wastewater treatment plant was out.
It's quite a ways out
Okay.
of the.
It's like down here.
Okay, so not anywhere near. Okay, I thought it must be the water facility that's up in here somewhere.
Yeah, there's like a,
Okay.
water supply.
That's what I was thinking.
okay, so I would agree that it may be the whole 15 million. I think when I talked to department heads, I said, give me a dollar amount of what you need, what you think that the TIF district, that the redevelopment commission could help you do that helps for development in our community. Like it has to be public improvements, local public improvements. What does that look like? So, and we're going to cost share that. I
And
think
that's
that
exactly the situation that the city of Elkhart has, because they have a TIF district where all the hotels are. And there is a substantial treatment issue because all that water from all those hotels come into the system at once and it overloads it. So the attorney there said, yes, there is we can see the direct impact to that TIF from making these improvements because there's an existing issue that we're resolving. So again, if you can make that legal connection, then more power to you. And it sounds like that if you've got a capacity issue, that's a viable project then.
do you feel like that would be a question for Barnes and Thornburg, the new attorney, to just say, what do you think? Or do we want to automatically just kind of say we could cost share that?
But I think they're gonna have to look at this whole plan. To get
Okay.
them under contract, and so we
Okay.
could just bring that issue up, see how. I think if we can lay out some of those arguments, why it's in it, I think they can make that ultimate decision about what goes in. They'll be helping craft the resolutions. This plan is part of one of those resolutions. So I'm sure they'll be looking at it and can give us some legal advice.
And they, last month, the commission approved Eric signing that contract, so it's been signed. So we are entering that in with them now, so we should, I mean, I should be able to ask them and just at least have them look at that and see.
Then the other ones, and this was mainly just looking at these projects, again, the connections along Willard Street from Mill to Hardcore, which is, I think, I gotta get to the right spot. It juts out, where is it? Here.
Yeah.
Again, we don't have any parcels. We have this parcel here that's on the side of the road. And we don't have,
Then all of
Any
Willard
of
Street
this.
extended. So
and
we,
then we have these. So, I mean, again, it's part of that conversation about whether Barnes and Thornburg feels comfortable that you're listing projects that you don't necessarily have direct parcel access to. That it's really like all the traffic's gonna be coming from this direction.
So I think we did that.
They need to use that road.
and that is definitely what does happen. I mean, it's one road with industry, and I think that what we thought was that by touching it
Mhm.
on the south end and that top end, we could run that along here. I did get some good news, is that one of the things that we had talked about was sidewalks down Woolert. So that's kind of that project, and then that connection to our existing trail. With the NDOT project that is going to be happening soon, the sidewalks that will be installed will be on North Wayne Street from Oak Street to the North Crest, which is like by Walmart. And at those stoplights, so like at, what's it called, Bill Bicklin? The stoplight at McDonald's, so Bicklin and North Wayne and Harcourt will have crossings. So what my fear was, quite honestly, is not just, we have so many people asking about sidewalks down Woolert, but part of my fear was, you know, with the new splash pad that will be opening, I believe next summer, families and kids from North Lake Manor on Harcourt, we're gonna be trying to walk to the splash pad in the summer. Great for them, it's really close, but with no crosswalk or no path or anything, it's gonna be super dangerous. So I'm hoping with our connection there along Harcourt Road at the end of Woolert, where, so North Lake Manor is right here, Crystal. And so with us connecting to Harcourt here and then Woolert Street down here, but at least this area, then there will be a crosswalk that gets to the splash pad right there. So, or no, I'm sorry, splash pad right here. So I'm hoping that that's something that we can do.
Question, going back to the whole residential thing, Village Green is in this whole, that little triangle area.
So in this case, the pink, the only place we're in the TIF is this hashed
Okay,
green area.
okay, that's right.
The pink is because that's, the surveyor needs to know that because those parcels aren't subdivided, they go to the center line. So that's,
I needed that
Just-
clarification, thank you.
blue is the full parcel is in the
Yeah.
TIF. The pink
Okay.
is only the right of way is pretty much in the TIF, so.
Did I mention Bill is also a surveyor, so he can answer those questions? Okay, the other thing that I want to just add really quick, another amendment that I'm hoping you guys would agree to is after after talking to Jason and recognizing that there are still some vacant parcels that we didn't take in. Part of why we didn't was what we thought might be developed there and just not knowing so much. So if you go to the north a little bit, yeah, the eclectic room, we didn't take in. But the fact is that that's going to go through some major renovations, and they're going to be doing something there. There may be some incentive that we can offer at some point, but this parcel here will also be developed. And what we thought was going to happen may or may not, but either way, it's a vacant parcel that if we can use it to do something with, it's going to be hard to come off of US or North Wayne Street because there's a ditch there. So I don't know what our TIF could possibly do, but if we could do something, either way, I would like to go ahead and take these two parcels in, and I would like to take Best Deal in. And the reason for that is because he wants to subdivide and develop this area here. And so he's got some potential people looking, but everybody backs out for some reason. I don't know if it's infrastructure. I don't know if it's getting access from North. I don't know why. But he told me he thought he had it and they just backed out, and he's trying to get something done with it. So when I talked to Eric today, because he had emailed and said he wasn't going to be at this meeting, Eric suggested that this parcel here is owned by Trine, and they're going to want to do something. So he said, if the commission agrees, it made sense to him to go ahead and come down here. I don't know if we probably don't want to take that in because that's residential now, but come down here and then just go up.
I'm trying to make that transparent, but it's not working.
Just square that off and go up. Eyster is a private drive. It is in city limits, but I don't know that we should take that in. I don't know that it's ever gonna
That might help.
not be private. I mean, we would have to do a lot of work to make that a public road, and he would have to sell all that stuff. So I think if you guys wanted to, we could come down. It's not showing parcel lines, but this is a whole separate parcel here. So come down and then just square that off right here. Because this is the electric thing that they're expanding right now off of Eyster. Yeah, there's parcel lines.
You said there's gonna be some development, done on the eclectic room.
Yes.
Do we know what's gonna be done there for sure? I heard something yesterday, but I only believe about half of what I hear.
Yeah. Good call on that. I do not. The developer out of Fort Wayne has purchased that.
He's the one who told me what was gonna be done with it, but I only believe about, well, you know him.
Yeah. But also this has changed a couple different times, the lot in front of it. And so if what he says is going to happen there too, and again, the owner of Best Deal that's pulling this acre and a half off or whatever, I don't know if we can help. I don't know what it is, but those are parcels that I just feel like if we look at, what we can do to make sure that we are creating or collecting the increment that we need to support some of the projects for our departments and for infrastructure and whatever, something that will actually help spur some development and do it. I think we need to do it. And we had just left those parcels out, but I definitely feel like we should put them in.
We should put them in the eclectic room, and then that acreage in front of that.
Yes.
That's prime time commercial
It is,
property.
it fronts right there. And I looked at a couple businesses today, and I'll make this really quick, that there's rumors that they're coming to town. They're not that I know of, but one of them I looked up and I looked at their real estate needs. What do they need? If I was to contact them and say, hey, we think we're a great location for you, tell me what you need. And each one, it was very specific. They needed 22,000 square feet. So I don't know that I can find that, but they wanted an end cap. They were willing to do an inline business. Like in a strip mall, but they needed a place to set out equipment outside. I mean, they needed a pylon sign. They needed all these things. And one thing that, we can do, sometimes we just think about, giving infrastructure to support development, but signage is one of them. There's so many things that maybe I can't do a whole lot, but I could be like, hey, we'll put your sign up for you. You come, you leave that sign to us or whatever. Like there's certain things that we can do with TIF funds that aren't just infrastructure. Hey, you leave that sidewalk to us in front of your business, but we'll, you come here and we'll do that. So I'm limited on so many things that I can use as incentives, and especially with tax abatements now with SB1, that's getting limited. So the incentives that we have to spur development are very minimum. And I just think if we're going to support it, we need to get money in there to do that. And some of these might help us.
I certainly agree. We need to put that in the TIF.
Okay, thank you.
Even rumors are good enough. Put it in.
Even the rumors. Perfect. I like it.
Sounds like our Gale Street property renovation is either dead or on the back burner.
So we're meeting, I'll tell you one thing about that. Two things. We're meeting. I'm waiting on an email back to see when to get an update on that, the mayor and I. So I'm waiting to hear about that. But even if that project doesn't happen, there's something else that the university might be working on that would be a much smaller scale need from us, but we could still actually contribute. So it's not public and I can't talk about it, but
I was told that yesterday, and that part's actually true. It's kind of nice to hear something.
Mark, you know everything.
But I just don't know if it's true.
There's just something that I felt like when I talked to the university and said, hey, even if this happens, I think that our TIF fund could still benefit you by helping out in this one area. And they were like, yeah, thank you. So I feel like, and it would be a benefit to the whole community, not just trying what they're talking about could potentially benefit our whole community. So I'm super excited about that, but I don't know what will happen. We're waiting on that update for that. So I think we need to just keep Gale Street in. I think we just need to continue with that. But those are the amendments. Crystal, am I missing any that I know Woolard Street?
Kind of, as you were talking, I was just kind of chugging down the road to see if there was any obvious vacant parcels along the frontage, and there is. I think we've picked up most of the large vacant properties already.
So if we eliminate, I'm going to find out for sure on the subsidized apartments, but if we eliminate Buck Lake Terrace, the single family residential, and then Ridge, I can't think. Terrace Ridge.
I would confirm with Jason, but it sounds like any residentially used property is gonna be.
That's what he acted like. I'll find out on that subsidized. I don't know about you guys, but the SB1 and all the new things, I've just heard so much dialogue and so many different things. I mean, I call them because I'm like, I'm just confused and I want to know what makes sense for our TIF district. Like we're moving forward, and I mean, he acted like it's a great thing you are doing this because you're going to need it, but also, be smart about it. And the other thing I'll tell you is that I talked to Crystal, I got some applications, some things from other communities, because I think once we have all this set and increment starts coming in, businesses and people are going to come in and want help from us, even our own city departments. Chad Ritter with the street department's already asking about Hetzler Court, which is in our existing TIF. But so we need a process to say, yes, you qualify to get money, or this is how much we can give you for your project, whatever that looks like. And we just don't have any parameters because we've never done it. So it'll be something that we need to kind of work on parameters of when we're giving money and how much maybe, or whatever that looks like, the application process. So
Do we need a motion to amend this or?
yes, because we made a motion last month to approve it. So yeah.
I'd make a motion to amend the suggested changes that you've just brought up. Do we need to detail them in general, or are you already got them?
I think if you and Nick can kind of do a final
Okay,
amendment to it, then we'll,
okay.
get started from there.
Yeah, I think that that's good. And Eric has signed that Barnes and Thornburg, so we'll engage with them and we'll just get moving forward on that. And I think we're there. If you guys are comfortable with
It's happening, it's finally happening.
Do I hear a second?
it. Oh, a second. Who seconded, John?
All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Okay, so also, I don't know what your guys' June looks like.
Mark might. He knows everything.
I know.
That's funny.
That's true.
But he only believes half of it.
I was just thinking when she said, I know everything, my wife says I know nothing. I mean, so.
So our next meeting is set for June 11th. I am trying to do a planning conference thing in kind of a conference in Mishawaka that day, so I will not be available. What I would like to propose, if possible, the mayor and Ryan are talking about having Jason Semler from Baker Tilly come in and talk to our city council to kind of explain some of these property tax changes. And my thought is if he's going to come on the Monday, which is the 16th, possibly, I'm going to find out. I don't know what the mayor and Ryan have decided, but would you guys be okay maybe altering the schedule in June? If need be, if we don't need to have a meeting while we're waiting kind of on Barnes and Thornburg and moving forward, I don't know, but if Jason's coming on a Monday in June, I would think that it would be nice to at least maybe see if he could come early and address us on some of these changes, just to understand a little bit about what we're dealing with. I don't know if that's going to happen or not for sure, but June 11th, I'm not available. So I'm willing to reschedule whenever.
Works in principle as long as we keep it to the first half of June, for me.
Okay. What do you guys, anybody?
I know we'll have a tournament sometime that weekend, but I don't have dates, so
I love fall
tentatively,
season.
yes.
I love, okay. I do. I miss the ballpark. I miss my kids being young and being at the ballpark.
A lot of hot dogs lately.
Hot dogs and popcorn and popsicles.
Here's dinner, guys.
Speaking of which, I'm like,
$5.
Yes, bye, Mark. Thank you.
yeah.
Okay, if I'll look at that, I'll email you guys. We'll kind of try to get something if that can happen, but I just, when do you come back from your Thailand? Where are you going?
Japan.
Japan.
I'll be back on the 3rd.
Okay. Bill, do you have any races, marathons, anything in June I need to know about?
Try to make it whenever you have it.
Bill has ran the Boston Marathon and is still running marathons.
Slower.
Okay, that's all I have. Madam Vice Chair, thank you for letting me ramble, and thanks you guys for understanding on those amendments and trying to get this taken care of.
All right, do we need to do legal description, service contract?
Do we need to do anything with that right now?
I think you need to sign it so they can get started. So
Does Eric sign it or do I sign it?
that's up to your statute. Whoever signs contracts on behalf of the Redevelopment. Generally, it would be your president, but if
Okay.
you have a quorum still, so they could approve it and then he would sign it.
So that money, all the money that we were going to use to expand this has been appropriated through council. It's on like the council already approved that. So technically it's just this board then that needs to approve the signatures of the contract. So if we still have a quorum, if you guys want to approve, Eric has signed the Barnes and Thornburg. And he's also the one that has to sign this. So if you guys want to approve Eric signing the Abbenmarsh to do the deeds and tell me what all they're doing.
So we've sent like 3 different versions of this.
I know.
And part of it's because the number of parcels are switching. So we finally decided The reason that the number of parcels impact us directly is because those parcels that are going to be in the legal description, we have to pull subdivisions and deeds for. So we just said, okay, we'll just put our flat fee at 11,500. And then based on our final number, we're just gonna charge for whatever our expenses through the title company is to pull that material together. So if we only need 10, it's only 10. If we need 100, it's 100. The last count we had was 225 deeds that we needed to pull, plus subdivisions. So at $25 a piece, we just weren't quite sure exactly. And those are costs. So we didn't want to overestimate or underestimate. So thought the easiest thing to do at this point to get them underway, because they can't start until we get the project open, is to go ahead and understand the set cost is the 11.5 to create the legal description that will be attached to the resolution establishing the TIF district. And then I just talked to Retha as well, that we think maybe she has the plat, so we won't have to pay the title company for the plat.
We keep recorded plats
So
on
that,
our engineering drive, so I think I can get,
so that will help with that cost. And then we'll try to, again, I think they said we only needed to get the deeds for parcels that were completely within the TIF district, because they're going to write the legal description to say along the right of way of this section to this section, unless the parcel itself is part of the TIF.
okay.
So they were trying to only get as many as we actually needed to do the project. But at, the last count was 200. That's not a small amount of money. So we wanted to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Retha, will this board be paying for that contract?
Yes, the money will come out of our TIF budget, yes, our TIF funds, yes, sir.
Okay. Council does not need to approve it. Eric should sign the contract.
Okay. So if you guys want to, since we have three of you here, we can go ahead and make a motion to allow Eric to sign the Abbenmarsh contract.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Eric, go ahead and sign that contract.
Eric can sign it. Okay, so we'll get that going. So that part will be done. Brunson Thornburg will be done. I think we're good on the map. I feel better about it. I will ask Jason about the subsidized, but I don't think I'll just, yeah. And then everybody could open the OneDrive link, so that was no problem. I'm just gonna start doing that, sending it to you. And as I upload documents on it or things come in, I'll add to that. But I think, hey,
I have one question, and you may or may not know the answer to this, and I couldn't figure out why it was written this way, but in this plan, the very first purpose statement and all the TIF plans I've had have the same format. So maybe by establishing a TIF, you by default create a Department of Redevelopment. So it says the city of, and this is the same way the original TIF was
Which page you
written as well. The very first page under plan purpose, page 1. It's City of Angola Redevelopment Commission, the commission, that's you all. The governing body of the Department of Redevelopment and the redevelopment district. So does the City of Angola actually have a Department of Redevelopment? Retha and I were talking about that, but I'm almost wondering if by default, when you create a TIF, you create a Department of Redevelopment.
Who prepared this?
I did based on looking at the old one. That's why Barnes and Thornburg will ultimately look at this.
Yeah, no.
But Retha and I didn't know even if it isn't like one
So
that's
this is
recognized,
language that was in the old.
this is the same
the new one
language that was
recognizes
in the
what
old
this
one.
department is.
Yeah, so that's why.
I'm the department. I don't really know.
Let Tom address that.
Okay.
Okay.
That's statutory, technical stuff. He figured that out quickly.
Okay, yeah, we weren't sure and wondered.
Yeah, and even thought, well, maybe when it was first established, they had a department and they've since then, how cities change their
Yeah.
names and departments, so. Okay, well, just, and there is still a question mark right there, so that we know to ask that question.
Yes. Okay.
All right, anything else? Go to the order. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
You should be the president all the time.
Yeehaw.
I know, I'm gonna tell Eric. Somehow Carrie got us out in 45 minutes to the hour and a half.
No, it's like, terrible, so, no. This is pretty straightforward today. We did all the hard work.